Because you've spent so much time in Indian villages and Indian metros, I'm sure you have an idea of what it's like growing up in India just based on what you've seen, or at least the mindsets you've seen
Hmm.
around you. So I want to ask you about what it's like growing up in India, according to you, versus what it's like growing up in Europe. What's the difference?
There's a lot of differences there, but what I've seen in India is that still, in many places, to a smaller or larger extent, this ancient tradition, whether we call it the Sanatana Dharma or the local culture or whatever you want to call it, it's alive. And it may be decreasing in some places, in the sense that decreasing to the extent that people are exposed to it, they have access to it, but it's there. And in the West, like for example in the Netherlands, we don't really have that anymore. So many places in Europe now, some people are trying to get it back, or it's an attempt to reconnect with it. Whether it was the Scandinavian countries where they're reconnecting maybe to the whole Viking traditions and things like that. But in Europe, most of these places, that it's not a continuous link, because at some point we had different tribes there. We had our own nature worship, or the different traditions, belief systems. Some of them very ancient, but then at some point, there was the Roman Empire that invaded. Then, of course, the Christianity came, the churches, a lot of the local customs were discontinued or discouraged. So we don't have that living tradition like that. Some people are trying to reconnect to it now because those are our roots, you could say. But here it's alive. It's probably the most ancient civilization or tradition that has continued.
Do you feel that in Europe there is a lack of that feeling of ancientness